I'm Dennis Loosier, Dr. Duck, and I'm here today to talk to you about why I love hunting with a dog. I think the main thing for me, the importance of hunting with a dog is it's very important for me to have him out there. It's a lot of things that goes on in the hunting world, and to have a well-trained, well-mannered dog, and most important thing in the hunting industry when it comes to a dog is having a patient dog. An impatient dog creates a lot of havoc in the hunting hole, and so it's a lot of whining, a lot of breaking, and it can mess up not only your hunt but the guys who you're hunting with. So to have a very obedient dog with a lot of patience that understands what he's there for is very important. And that process is through a lot of training for the first couple of years, maybe from a 6-week-old pup to almost up to 2 years. So having that together and having a plan for him, having a trainer, me personally, I wouldn't be a very good trainer because I really don't have the patience. But the guy that I use, he's very patient, believes in a lot of repetitions, puts the dog in the best scenario he possibly could be in during those training processes. So when it goes to the hunting world, it's just another day to the dog. But having that best friend, not only hunting with me, but being on the road with me at all times. Elvis is a perfect example. He goes everywhere with me. I mean, he goes to work with me. He sleeps beside my bed at night. He's more than just a hunting dog. He is really a personal friend, and he's always by my side. And so to me, having that and bringing him into the hunting world and watching him enjoy doing what he loves to do. I mean, he's a lab. He's born to do it. He loves to retrieve. Even in playtime, he's always picking up stuff, bringing it to me. I mean, they just naturally love it. And so being out there with me, you can see the joy that he has in doing it, the patience that he has to wait his turn, or to see him have the patience to wait his turn and to achieve something that makes me happy is their ultimate goal as a dog. And to me in the hunting world as well, I feel like most of the time it's a safety issue as well. I don't like to walk in the water. You take the time to walk in the water, you're also taking a big chance of tripping, falling in a creek, river run, or a beaver run. So anytime you take the chance to walk in water, you're taking a chance of falling into a beaver run, or maybe falling off the creek's edge. It's just naturally that it might be over your head. So a dog can prevent a lot of that for you by having him there to make all those retrieves. So the main thing for me is to make sure, because we hunt 6-7 days a week, and the maintenance, the nutrition is very important for him to maintain that high level and to be able to perform each and every day. We believe in Victor dog food. It's a high protein dog food. It not only helps with his immune system, but helps his coat shiny and keeps that motivation day in and day out to perform each and every day at a high level. So for me, having a dog out there is probably one of the most important tools that you can have, especially when it comes to finding a wounded bird. Because a lot of times trying to find a wounded bird, you spend more time looking for a bird than you are hunting. And that's what a dog's there for, is to make quick, easy retrieves. And then when you do have one that's kind of wounded and playing a little scapegoat on you, it makes it so much easier having a dog there to find him, because then that way you're back to hunting. And a lot of times you don't ever have to stop hunting because you trust your dog so much to make those retrieves for you. And you're allowed to continue to hunting while the dog's doing his job. So those things, to me, that's why we have dogs in the hunting world. That's why I have dogs with me, is just for those scenarios there. Normally it's pretty natural. It's always going to be by their owner or close to their owner. The thing about Elvis that I appreciate so much is sometimes necessarily we don't have a tree in that location, and I'm able to put him 10 or 20 feet from me. And of course his hunting skills and his patience is the key factor to that, to be able to trust to put him over there, while a lot of guys have to have their dog right next to them. And some guys, when you got an impatient dog that don't understand, when they don't have that off switch, it's go, go, go. They got to stand right close to them, either hold them by hand or either tie them up with the leash. So to me, it's very important in the hunting world is to have that dog with patience. I tell most of the time when guys are hunting with a dog, especially with a new dog, just don't have high expectations. That way you don't leave disappointed. And so having low expectations on a dog. That way, when you do leave, you're not there again. You're not so disappointed. But you do spend a lot of time the first couple years training a dog, and it's in a controlled environment when you're in a training scenario. But when you come out of that training scenario, it's a whole new game. You go from one guy blowing a whistle, and you're going to run into a bumper. Then you come into the hunting scenario where you might have 6 or 7 different guys and 3 or 4 different dogs, and it just makes it very difficult on a puppy for the first time. So you have to be very patient with that dog, understand he's going to make mistakes, be patient through those mistakes, and and at the end of the day, when he hits that year 2 and year 3 mark, it'll be a totally different dog. The last thing you want to do is continue to put a lot of pressure on the dog to where it's too scared to make a mistake. So just be very patient with it. I can think back to my first dog, and Molly was my very first dog, and of course she was my first dog, and plus I was really getting into duck hunting, and the stories I can remember of her, how gracious she was, and she was probably the first dog that I had that was really patient, and so I went from a patient to later on to non-patient, so I really got to experience the difference and knew the difference. But Molly was pretty special. She had a time clock in her head. She knew what time of day it was, and she knew when that first hunt would come during the season that it was, because I hunted nearly every day, and so she would start waking up at 2:30 and start. Actually, at that time, Molly stayed outside, and she would start barking at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning to make sure I was up out of bed. That's how much she loved it, and to hunt and experience her and her being my first dog, and the patience that she showed of being a hunting dog it was unbelievable. She with the little trainings that she had, because I couldn't afford a lot of training, she held great. She was quiet. She loved her job. She loved retrieving those ducks, and so that was my first special dog. And then of course Jake came along. He came along by accident. The original owner he passed away, and I inherited a dog through a friend. He didn't have a place for him, so I took him in, and Molly was at that time was getting up in age, and so Jake was probably a 2.5, 3-year-old dog, which had minimum training too, and I got lucky with him as well. He was very patient, had a great nose, loved to drive, and so I'd rotate him out the first couple of years before I just fully retired Molly. But Jake was special as well, and he did a lot of retrieving, a lot of ducks, loved it, and every day showed up motivated. And then of course we move on to Timber, which is still a special girl. She is the perfect house dog, and she is today. She has become my wife's dog basically, but she is the perfect example of not being patient. And actually I had to retire her at the age of 3 because of the anxiety she would have, and she loved it so much that she couldn't hold. She couldn't stop whining or barking, and she didn't intentionally mean to. And as a hunter and a dog owner, you have to take those. You have to realize that, and that's some things that you can't break. And of course, at the time, she was a big investment for me. So the last thing I wanted to do was retire, but for the best interest of the dog was to retire her. And now she stays home. She's very comfortable. She's had the best retired life that anybody could ask for, and she's a very special dog. She's actually a person in our house. She has become like, if somebody's sick in our family, she's sleeping with them. If when my son was younger and he would be sick, running fever, you could find Timber. That's where she's going to be. She was kind of like the mother of the house, and so she's still that way today. And she has no specific. We always say all the time, we joke with her, she's always a trader, because she goes from person to person to person. And that's just her, and that's her personality, and that's what makes her so special as a family dog. So she makes everybody in the family feel special. Then we move on to Elvis, which is my current dog, and he's coming into as a 2-year-old, and of course, I got blessed with him, and he was a little older, and he needed a home, and I needed a dog at the time. And of course, the short story on him was the first guy just got out of the military, he picked Elvis out, and he landed a job back in the military, which was across seas, and he was not able to take Elvis with him, so he returned him to the trainer. The second guy came along, and thought he wanted Elvis and actually paid a deposit. And of course, when his wife found out, he was not, she put a stop to it. So guys, girls, you got to make sure the other one in your house or in your family member approves of that, because it is a big purchase, and the third guy made the purchase and just couldn't afford it anymore. So Elvis needed a home, and so I was blessed to get him, and it was shortcoming by accident. So, but he has shown very much progress from this last season. I couldn't expect any more out of a young pup. It was his first season, and the thing that kept me very happy with him and very pleased with him was the patience that he's shown. I think if you can get a hunting dog that shows patience, understands the hunt, understands what you're there for, and understands when to turn on that light switch and when to turn it off, is very important to have in the woods. So if you find a dog like that, it's very special. And of course, my advice to a young guy today is make sure you find the right trainer for you. If you're not training your own dog, if you're one of those guys that's really good with patience and understands dogs, great. But if you're not, you're a little bit like me and you depend on another guy to help you get across that finish line, make sure you hire the right guy. There's a lot of trainers out there now. All have training, different methods of training. None's better than the other, to be honest with you, but there's certain style that you're looking for in the hunting world. To me, there's a difference between a hunting dog and a field trial dog. And so basically you want to train your dog, if you're a hunter, as a hunting dog and not a field trial dog. It's very close to the same, but it's a lot different. I feel like there's probably a little bit more pressure on a field trial dog. There's a lot more gas involved in that, and so it's, I would say, not being part of that world, but what I can tell you is what I know about it is there's a little room for error in there for those dogs to qualify to get their ribbons. So in the hunting world, you can have those little mistakes, you can live through those mistakes, and the dog eventually gets better and better and better at something. And it's a great tool to have, especially when it comes to finding these wounded birds that we talked about earlier. So to me, all the dogs I've had up through the past, I've been very blessed. I've had all good dogs, and looking forward to the future with Elvis and seeing where it ends up in many years of hunting.